With May 10th marking the 50th anniversary of Bobby Orr's famous flying goal, the Boston Bruins Foundation is raffling off a 3x5 replica of the goal's signature statue. We caught up with the statue's creator, renowned sculptor Harry Weber. Harry, I want to start by asking you when you were first approached by the Boston Bruins and asked to create the Bobby Orr flying goal statue.
Yeah, one of the things that makes this statue unique for me, it is the fastest we have ever done a statue start to finish. I was approached by the Bruins in December of 2009, and we had the statue erected in May of 2010. So it was 5 months. Normally it takes us anywhere from 9 months to a year to get it done.
Well, it was a little bit ironic that the statue was commemorating a moment when the Bruins actually beat the St. Louis Blues, and I know that it was made in St. Louis. You are from St. Louis. What was your reaction to being asked to make this statue?
Yeah, great responsibility and some trepidation. I think, I used to live in Boston a couple of times. Once when I was in the Navy, I took a ship through the yards, the Boston Naval Shipyard. And then back when, as my mother said, I had a real job in ancient days, I worked at Gillette at the Peru. So I was very familiar with the Bruins and very familiar with Boston. And I knew, the avid, fervent fans that you guys had. And when the statue went up and we were about to unveil it and there were a couple thousand people out there, I was just hoping that they liked it. and but everybody seemed to have a good reaction to it, so I was real happy. The only difference between the statue and the photograph that Ray Lussier took, at the time, is that I convinced them that Bobby being absolutely horizontal was a very effective picture, but not a very effective sculpture. So we took him up about a tenth of a second earlier, where he was a little bit of an angle, and that made a much better presentation for a sculpture.
It's very interesting to learn that Bobby Orr was actually part of the process. What exactly did he do when you say that he was helpful in the process of creating this?
Well, I sent him pictures of the maquette all the way along, and he was, and we also quizzed him about real small details, like the fact that he never had laces in his jersey, so there are no laces in the jersey. The fact that he only had 1.5 turns of tape on his stick, the actual stick that he used that day. We wanted to make sure to get every detail exactly the way it was supposed to be. I'm just real glad they weren't wearing helmets and masks. It was kind of fun to have that hair flowing in the background.
What was his reaction to seeing the final product?
I think it was positive. I mean, he was, as I said, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And he had to actually climb up and free the canopy that we had over it. So he was the one that climbed on the statue and got the thing unveiled. So he did a great job of unveiling it. But I think he was very happy with it. He has a copy of the maquette himself. There's a good picture I have of him sitting at his desk working with the maquette behind him.
And you've done a lot of sports figures, Doug Flutie at Boston College also being one of them. What is your favorite that you've done up to this point?
Well, I think Bobby Orr is right up there. And I do about half sports statues and about half historical figures. So I would say at last count, we've got about 150 statues. They're everywhere from China to Africa but Bobby Orr is certainly in the top 5. And I keep cycling through what my favorite might be, but he's one of my favorites for sure.
Which was the most difficult in terms of sports figures, and how does that statue of Bobby Orr compare?
I would say in terms of difficulty, Bobby Orr was the most difficult. It was challenging to get that one point of contact and put 1,200 pounds of bronze up there. It was challenging because it was 1,200 miles away. And we were putting the patina on the day before we put it in the truck to drive it up to Boston to install it. And we had to have a special mounting system on that particular base when we first installed it outside the garden, so that we could just simply drop it in place. It was something we'd never done before, and it worked out great. We had our fingers crossed.
All right, Mr. Weber, thank you so much for talking with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and go Bruins. I hope we get back in action sometime.